Neal was a visionary
He was respectful.
and a leader and a very patient person.
Neal Kocurek, for me, is a role model. He will always be that image that will cause me to benchmark, am I doing the right thing?
Neal had the ability to bring people together.
One of the most competent yet humble men I've ever been around.
He was a great listener.
So you get this very warm person and this very tenacious person, and you bring them together and you get a Neal Kocurek.
Dad was big on responsibility. He was big on pushing yourself to do your best. He was big on working hard. Still, I find myself striving to make him proud of me, even though he's not here.
A day in the life of Neal Kocurek began around 4 o'clock, and he usually had 3 or 4 breakfast conferences before he ever got to work.
It really didn't sink in until after Neal's death just how much Neal was doing. We couldn't figure out how we could replace what Neal had been doing with a half a dozen or a dozen people.
Neal just had this uncanny ability to get people to do things. He would get people interested and willing to build new schools, to get behind bond packages, to build transportation systems. I mean, the list just goes on and on. He'd get people to come together.
So it is a cooperative effort and a collaborative effort, and it's a very gratifying thing to have been a part of.
He did it with just sheer determination and tenacity and persistence.
He wouldn't say anything in meetings. He would guide meetings. He would get everyone else to make their points first. And then at the very end of the meeting, he would sort of summarize the points, include everybody, and bring it to, this is what I think we're saying we need to do.
Neal was a mentor to me. He truly believed in public education. He was a man of vision. He was a forward thinker in all aspects.
You can look to the Neal Kocurek Health Institute at Lanier High School. Neal was the person, he was the mind behind driving the need for a school like that within AISD.
You just have to look at Austin and see what Neal did with the healthcare district and Envision Central Texas, the Civic Center. I mean, his legacy is all over this community.
Neal was very passionate about education. I mean, look, you've got a guy who finished the salutatorium of his high school. He got a bachelor's degree, master's degree, a PhD degree in electrical engineering. He saw education as a way of moving away from your circumstances so that your circumstances never have a chance to define who you are. So it stands to reason to me that he would indeed, part of his legacy would be a scholarship.
When he got his PhD, he said, now I know how little I know. It's so vast, you know. But all 3 of his children got graduate degrees. 2 of them are lawyers and one's a doctor.
But he also wanted his children to be well-rounded.
My dad coached football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and baseball in the spring, and we just rotated those sports each year.
He formed the league for my friends and myself to play girls softball. My dad coached all the years that I played softball, and he would draft a different team every year, and he would swing by the house and pick me up on the way home from the office, and we'd go straight to the softball fields, and he would sometimes take off his tie, sometimes he would coach the whole game in his tie, but he made it a point to be there. He had said he would do that, and he did.
Neal wrote this letter to us on March 21st of 1972.
Dear Mom and Dad, I've started this letter several times, but I always seem to land somewhere before I finish it.
The fact that I love life is important to me. I like sand and weeds and spiders. I like 18-hour work days. I like art and football games with the kids. I don't wish to trade places with anyone else. Therefore, I am happy.
He really loved Austin, and he wanted to make it a better place to live. But one of his most proudest moments was when the Convention Center was built.
The Neal Kocurek Austin Convention Center would not exist were it not for Neal.
That took about 6 or 7 years of small meetings.
He was a quiet giant, and you know, I mean, Neal died at 67 years old. I mean, come on, 67, that's young today. So that means that he accomplished these things in the time frame that many people just coming up to speed.
What Neal did, he didn't do for himself. He did this because he wanted to make a difference. And so these scholarships are not scholarships necessarily to recognize him. I think he would want the recipients of the scholarships to know that they were carrying on his vision, that they would continue that process and be inspired to make a difference themselves.